What's up, everyone? Casey Bags here, and this is another episode of our Sanctum Building Public Series where I walk you through what we've accomplished this week, but really it's like the past 2 weeks this time because it's been a while, to see kind of how we're doing with Sanctum and what we're bringing to the table to empower and make tabletop roleplay game design accessible and scalable for everyone, whether you're someone who's wanting to become a game designer or an industry vet with a massive studio producing works all over the world. We are here for you. Sanctum is for you. Sanctum is for everyone. So let's dive into it. So first things first, if this is your first video, let me tell you a little bit about this series. This is me. I'm the founder of Sanctum, and what we've accomplished in the past week is the goal, but for this video, it's been a couple of weeks building up and kind of rethinking how we're doing things and applying that, just taking a little bit of time. I don't edit these videos at all. What you see is what you get, and outside of that, I think the only other thing is we're a human-made company. Everything you see today, there's no AI. We're not interested in using AI. We don't build AI features. We don't build AI products. We are a human-made company in this world full of humans and robots now. So that's about it. So let's dive into it. So this week is all about trying to figure out how to make Sanctum a little more functional. And what I mean by that is now that we're getting closer to our system file being complete, what I'm doing is as I'm building each feature and using it, putting it to the test. So essentially I'll build a feature and I try and build out, because we're working in the system file, I'm focusing on building out game systems. And I put it to a test to make sure the work, most importantly, the feature does what it needs to do to be valuable to the game designer. And that includes, a part of that process is validating it before I build it with our pool of early adopter and beta waitlist users. So we have about close to 100 designers right now waiting on Sanctum to release. Vast majority are Morkborg community. That's intentional. We want to start small and then work our way to the broader audience. So we'll release in small groups. So it'll be to our early adopters first, then our beta group, then to a subset outside of that, and then publicly. And we'll go through adopting community by community. But essentially, I say all that because now that we're closer to the Sanctum file being complete, or the system file, Sanctum is the product. The system file being complete, what I'm doing is I'll try and build a system. For example, I just mentioned Morkborg. I'll grab a Morkborg hack or somebody that's within our early adopter group, and I try and build their system out. And I'm looking for very specifically, how does it feel? Is it very fast to accomplish? Does it feel good? Am I empowered by the features? Meaning, are they providing more value in a way that Notes apps and all the other tools you're having to source as a systems designer, is it more valuable to that? Because ideally, Sanctum is bringing all of these tools into one, but adding more value than essentially just a Notes app does, which was never meant for a tabletop roleplay game design. So as I do that, and then that's like layer one. But before that, I'll create some wireframes. I do a little thinking framework, and then I validate that within our pool of designers to make sure this is the right direction for the people that have more experience than I do, which means a lot to me. And so once I build it, I'm testing that again. I'm just hammering system by system by system by system. And it should feel streamlined and good. And what was happening, I was noticing for the standard that I have, which I'm putting a high bar on this, is everything was feeling empowered. So it definitely way more valuable than a notes app provides, because we're just approaching it in a way that is meaningful to tabletop roleplay game designers. But it still felt like it didn't feel fluid, I guess is a good word, regarding how it's moving. Like, within your workflow, like the workflow should be just as empowered. It doesn't matter if you're a systems designer, if you want to start with templates first or resolution first, or think about the hardcore math and stuff. Like, we provide all those tools, but you should essentially be able to just float around in any file and cater it to the workflow that you like to work in, and it just feel that seamless, don't make me think type of mentality of empowerment. And it was just feeling for me a little clunky and not like it, kind of like a little draggy. It's hard to kind of explain. And so what that led me to realize is that within the way that we were saving snapshots, is what we'll call them, it just wasn't as good as what it could be. So we have this conundrum with tabletop roleplay game design right now. And the biggest problem that I'll say on this front is that game designers are using notes apps to build games, right? I keep mentioning that. Notes apps in general, because they're text-based, it forces you into a linear way of thinking, because that's how you write a Word document, right? It's a singular flow of thinking. And you can, try and like customize a system and create templates or do whatever. Like, there's all types of hacks being done, but at the end of the day, it's still a Word document that has nothing to do with game mechanics and how tabletop roleplay games in general are a modular concept. You have a core rulebook, you have a system, you have an adventure, you have supplemental material. Those are all modules. We know that. We understand that concept, but down to a lower level, we'll call it component based. So even further, those modules have components. And so now we're getting into a very software development type of understanding that shows and reveals how complex a tabletop roleplay game really is. It doesn't matter if your rules light or super crunchy. You have all of this that intertwines together, and a notes app forces you into not having that connectedness and that module-based understanding, because it's all just a text file. So I say all that because notes apps in general are draft-based saving. So we, as an industry, think we have version control, but that's not really version control. The version control is you copying and pasting file content and just retitling it. That is not version control. That's just duplicating files. Real version control, what Sanctum provides, is like the software industry, where you have this concept of branches, like we have, where you have these scoped workspaces that take snapshots of working throughout time, if you will, for each branch, and then all of that coming together. So it's more of a tree flow, and that comes with commits, which give you history of what has happened, and that's what we've always had. We've always had this Git style. Now, if you have a software development background, like some designers do, you're probably using a version control tool already for your game design instead of a Word document like GitHub or GitLab. So, for example, Cairn, it's hard for me to say, Cairn, that designer uses GitHub and hosts all the files on GitHub. So think of Sanctum as blending these two worlds together, which is pretty much what we're doing. We have the same exact features that GitHub provides, except instead of it being for software development, the files are meant for designing tabletop roleplay games. So our features are very targeted towards the type of module you want to design for. And so that seemed to be not enough the more that I was playing around with it. And so what we've did for these past 2 weeks is we've been working on how do we bring the version control aspect that we already have that allows designers and studios to actually have true version control for their systems and their modules and stuff. But how do we add that notes fluidity of more of a draft-based saving system? And I'm happy to announce that this week we've been able to accomplish that. So Sanctum, if you could think of it, has now two flows of how we save content and how we save your files. You have the root layer is what we could call, and that's your branch, that's your entire project, which is based on a branch. So, for example, we're in this open source game project, which, as a side note, we've added the badge of what permission, what visibility your repo is up here in the nav. That just makes it easier in case, like, once you're outside of this view, like once you're inside a file, it just provides a little more context in our breadcrumb nav that you can see here. So we have this one file to where we're within the main branch. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to create a new branch, which is what you should do when you're working on new content. I'm going to call it system. Cool. And I'm going to go to that branch. So now we're in the feature system branch. We're in this we branched off of the main timeline, right? Multiverse timeline. It's crazy. And so on this level, this is what we call the commit level. And so commits are essentially your project snapshot throughout the history of time. And we'll come back to this. So this is part one of the saving feature. So I'm going to create a new system file. And I'm going to go in there. And now we'll notice that we have this little cloud with a checkbox. And this, if you use a Notes app or if you use like Google Docs or something, this should feel very familiar. Because we're inside a file, now we're going to go on the second part of the saving aspect of this. And this is your file-based saving via drafts. So everything that you're working in a file is always going to be saving as a snapshot in time on your behalf, automatically based on intervals on how active you are in the file. So notice nothing is happening in here. We're not doing anything in this file, but we know the cloud and the check is here. So that way we know that this file has been saved into the cloud and that we don't have to worry about content missing or whatever. So I'm going to go into, oh, my camera is hiding. I think this is the right link. The camera was blocking that view for me. Okay, so I'm going to go into licenses and I'm going to assign, I have 2 test licenses here. I'm going to assign one. And then you can notice up here, it says really quick, so it's super fast. It says save to cloud. And I know that updated this version of the file draft. So for example, if I refresh the page, everything's still here. I'm going to do that again, add another file. We see save to the cloud. I'm going to say, hey, let's remove it, save to the cloud. So now we have this file-based saving that's happening in the background. I don't even have to think about it. But let's go back to our repository. So that's aspect number one that we added. This was a big deal. We were doing this manually under the hood. Now it's just this automated stream that sort of waits for you to do stuff. And once you do, If something happens within 1 second, like if you're just churning and burning, it's going to wait until there's a 1 second breather for it to save content. And this is pretty much online with Google Docs and stuff. So you're going to have that same interaction. So if we go back to the repository in our history, this is the commit level. So this is the entire feature system branch moment in time. Now notice that it's not saying, like it's saying some big major milestones in here, like I deleted a file, I create a new file, but nothing has happened outside of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for a moment, because what we do is you see these auto-saved main branches that happened basically yesterday. We have two ways to saving your branch state. So for example, let's say that your workflow is, I'm going to hop in, I'm inside a branch, we're in this branch, I'm going to hop into a Spark file, check out some ideas. Oh, you know what? We need to update this idea. Let me go into my system file. I'm going to update the game engine a little. Let's pretend that we have the core rulebook file. Let me update some wording in the core rulebook. All of that's happening in the same branch. This is a branch level save. So each file is going to have their draft versions saved, like we mentioned. But on the history level of the entire branch and project, if you will, nothing's really been snapshot on that big picture. So what we do is in the background, we wait for you to essentially make changes to a file and start doing stuff. And then that triggers and lets us know, oh, this file is essentially needs to be saved in the future. And so we have our Sanctum bot, which is not AI. It's very specifically just a old school generated bot that we just run in the background, which is symbolized by this little bot icon. It's saving snapshots in the background. So in theory, just refresh the page and we see that 1 minute ago, we auto-saved the feature system branch. Now, we can do this even further. So there's nothing to save here. So just to drive this home, if for some reason you wanted to do that manually, maybe you're somebody that needs to know, I don't want to wait on the automated system to take a snapshot. I want a snapshot taken from right now. I want to save this branch state in history from the moment I do XYZ. As long as you're in a repository at any moment in time, you could hit Command S, and that's going to pop up a little toast down here to validate that a branch was saved at that moment in time. But watch this. When I refresh the page, there is no history. That's because it's already been saved. We haven't made any file updates. There's nothing to save. Your branch is up to date. So it doesn't clutter the history with just useless commits, because in the future, these are going to come into play. We're going to be able to click in here, see what the contents are, and be able to eventually merge this branch into other branches, so that way you have the full version control suite. So let's go back into our system file. Let me try and find that systems link. I'm going to add the second license back in. I'm going to hit Command Save. And let's go back to the history and look. Indie creator, that's who we are acting as. We save the feature branch. So now we have that snapshot in time. So this is a massive, massive improvement on just the version control and the history and the draft base. We now have these two flow of streams. And what's more important is all of this is cached. So in the future, what we're going to be working on next is caching this locally. So that way, if you lose internet, you'll be able to still work when you're offline. And when you come back online, we're going to know, oh, your local stuff is different from the stuff that's cached on the server. Let's catch all that up. And it's gonna function just the same as what Notes apps do. So very powerful thing this week. So stoked about this. I'm telling you, just completely changes the workflow. I've been running like so fast, building out like test systems, and doing everything. So now it's just hooking the rest of the system back up. So that's pretty much it. I'm super stoked about this update. Like I said, it's a game changer. Mentally, it relieves so much pressure while you're moving, because now you can move from file to file, go as wild as you want, and then just manually just save to your heart's content, and not have to worry about just your history getting clogged with useless stuff. You still have all that control. And so that's it for this week. Thank you so much for hanging in there. This is going to change everything. Sanctum is literally going to change and empower so many people. So that's it. If you are interested in joining our early adopter group and becoming a beta tester to help us make sure we're building features that are valuable to game designers in general, we want you to join our waitlist. Please like and subscribe this video and hit us up, whether it's a comment or find me on Discord, or go to our website in our Sanctum, click reserve spot, fill out this crazy long form, and I'll get an email and I'll contact you personally. So man, it's coming, it's getting here. So I'm super stoked. So thank you so much for checking us out and supporting us. And here's to all the devs and the game creators out there. Appreciate you. This is for you. Bye-bye.